Today we will learn about electing the president. Every 4 years in the United States, we hold elections and vote for the president and vice president. Running for office is complicated and requires a lot of staff. Candidates for president often campaign for years in advance of the election. A president may be elected twice and hold office for no more than 10 years. At first, this might sound odd because each presidential term is 4 years, and a president can only be elected twice, which would equal 8 years. But it's actually quite logical. If the president dies or resigns, the vice president becomes president. He may then run for office 2 more times as long as his total time in office as president does not exceed 10 years total. The candidates for president and vice president run together as a team representing each political party. We call this running on the same ticket. Most people think of the presidential election as a one-day event, but it actually takes quite a bit longer. Let's take a closer look at the calendar of events that lead up to electing the president. The Constitution says the presidential election must be held on the Tuesday following the first Monday in November. On this day, people vote for president and vice president. Winners are announced, but these winners are unofficial. Fast forward a few weeks. The Constitution says that the Monday following the second Wednesday in December, electors must meet in their state capitals and cast separate ballots for president and vice president. Electors are the people who officially elect the president and vice president. We call this group of people the Electoral College. The Constitution gives the Electoral College the power to elect the president and vice president. Some of the writers of the Constitution wanted Congress to elect the president. Others wanted to let the voters directly elect the president. The Electoral College is a compromise between these two groups. The people get to vote, but the Electoral College has the final say. Each state gets a certain number of presidential votes called electoral votes. The number of votes the state gets is equal to their number of senators plus their number of representatives. Today, the total number of electoral votes is 538 because we have 100 senators plus 435 representatives plus 3 electoral votes for the District of Columbia, whose residents don't have any senators or representatives but do get to vote for president. In order to win the presidency, a candidate must get at least 270 of the 538 electoral votes, or in other words, a majority. States with small populations tend to favor the Electoral College because it gives them a strong voice, while other Americans dislike the Electoral College because it can allow a candidate to win the election without getting the most votes. Andrew Jackson in 1824, Samuel Tilden in 1876, Grover Cleveland in 1888, Al Gore in 2000, and Hillary Clinton in 2016 all received more of the popular vote but lost the election due to the Electoral College. While many people are critical of the Electoral College, changing it would require a constitutional amendment which would take a lot of work and are historically very rare. Since the founding of the United States, over 11,000 amendments have been proposed, but only 27 have been ratified. Speaking of constitutional amendments, the process for electing the vice president has changed since the Constitution was written. Originally, the members of the Electoral College voted for the president, and the candidate with the most votes won, and the candidate in second place became vice president. This caused some obvious problems. Can you imagine Hillary Clinton being vice president to Donald Trump? The 12th Amendment changed the system, and now the Electoral College votes for the president and vice president separately. So we left off on the Monday following the second Wednesday in December, when the electors for each state meet in their state's capital and cast separate ballots for president and vice president. They seal these ballots and mail them to Washington, D.C. On January 6th, the electoral ballots are opened and counted before a joint session of Congress, and the official winners of the election are announced. Finally, on January 20th at noon, the former president and vice president officially leave office, and the new president and vice president take the oath of office and begin a new 4-year term.